It says we're live, which is always a good thing. I'm just going to hang on a second while we get the notification, and then we can start our little chit chat. Come on, Facebook. Well, it says we're live anyway, so let's do it. So I'm really excited to bring this to you today. We have eyes already. Wonderful. Let me just see what's going on. I always check on the phone because, when comments come up on StreamYard, I can't see who it is. Hi, Keisha. Good to see you. It's really good to see you. You're going to love what we're going to talk about today. I have a wonderful guest, as you can see, Robert G. Hunter, we've been working together for, how long now?
I don't know. Time flies, but maybe a year and a half, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And I'm so excited about chatting with you today, Robert, because I really stand behind what you do as a fellow kind of like wellness advocate and wellness practitioner and kind of energy person and all the rest of it. I just love what you do in the way that you break it down. So we're going to show everybody today, get into a little bit about what you do, how you do it, and why you're so passionate about it. And then obviously we're going to tell you guys about a challenge that Robert's got coming up next week in his Facebook group, Superpowers Made Simple. So I'm just going to greet everybody. Hi, Vicky. Hi, Jill. Great to see you. Hello, Charlie. Hey, Miss Angie. Good to see you. No worries, Tanya. Hi, Doreen. I think that's everybody so far. Robert, tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do. Let's get this show on the road.
Hi, Emma. So wonderful to be here. Thank you so much. We have a great connection, and it's wonderful to share. I was yesterday sort of expanding the practice, and I had a medical procedure, and it was pretty intense pain for a little period of time, but it really encouraged me to really practice what I've been preaching. And I found that, as we spoke before, typically when you start meditating, the idea is you sit still and you wait for your mind to wander off, and then you gently pull it back. And so it's this game of part of the mind monitoring another part of the mind. But I've always been pretty keen on expressing feelings, or at least trying to do that as a singer-songwriter. But, from a background of mechanical engineering and top MBA, and going to be a venture capitalist, and, tell 100 people no and one person yes. And so I found out I was much more of a can-do person, but spent a lot of time in life sciences, but due to autoimmune issues, was encouraged to look for alternatives. I didn't like the idea that I could take immune suppression medication or have radical surgery and carry on. I just really wanted to know why. So I had a lot of layers to go through to get in touch with that information. And obviously, like a lot of us, tried to explain it and work on explaining it and understanding and things like that. And at some point, the feeling takes over, and that's when real magic happens, because again, with the feeling channel that this practice brings, and an intense grounding and connection of the breath, the awareness, the letting go, and the mindset into muscle memory, which is the BALM acronym, it just gets easier to maintain that channel of focus, stretching the present moment. And it's no problem if thoughts come and go. They really can't compete with the bandwidth of the feelings. And so that's a little bit. I don't want to say too much, because I could go on, but I'm very excited, and this is a wonderful timing to connect. So I appreciate, your guidance in helping us shape this conversation, to get the best out of it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, there's a lot of people on my page, some of whom are watching now, and we talk about this a lot, how to feel better naturally. And that's why I love what you do, because, so what is if there was a title, is it holistic health coach. I forget what would
Yeah,
you
I'm an integrative health coach, which
that's the one.
means, um, I know of early detection testing, and how to look out for, how to gauge inflammation and how to look out for cancer and things like that. But I'm not a medical practitioner, and I'm a fitness nut, and I've been gluten free for 10 years, and with my teenage son, which I always footnote because I think that's a real, part of where it meets the road.
That is applaud worthy for sure, getting a teenager to go gluten free and all the rest of it. So well done, you.
So I've been developing, my skills in this area for a long time, and then just prior to COVID situation, I went through a very traumatic experience. My dad went missing, and then later was found, and there was some things that my sisters and I had to take care of with his affairs. Over 3 years, it was very stressful, and I had started an exercise routine, so I was all set there. But typical type A Virgo fashion, I was overdoing it and didn't really know, and so I would go to sleep right away, but pop awake a few hours later and just battle the sheets all night, flipping and flopping, and wake up exhausted and have to get a nap. And it was just it was a lot of stress that I thought I was processing, but I was basically just recycling. And so I remembered this body-based form of meditation I had seen a few years prior, but it was a little out there. It was a little too woo for me. And as daring as I can be in real life, when it comes to energy and things like that, I have a real respect for that. My history is pretty wild, but I got some conclusive input, and one was that I had high levels of mercury in my system, and who knows where that came from.
Wow.
You can talk about amalgam fillings, and my dad had a construction company, and one summer I remember he had done this project, taking down an old mill, and the tongue and groove planking was beautiful, and we planned to try and build a deck out of it. But I cleaned all that up, and I can imagine I got some pretty exotic chemicals in my skin and things like that. So it could be that way, but whatever. There have been just so many synchronicities in my life that I couldn't ignore, and so that's been my path.
Yeah.
So the long way around, to start with meditation is at first a bit of a conundrum, considering my history, but it's proven to be a real anchor and a prerequisite or a necessary condition for some of the energy expanding and optimism raising practices that follow on.
Yeah.
So I used to hear that and think they were just, people were trying to make me go slow. It hurts my motor to go so slow, kind of thing. But it is proven to be kind of a necessary part of it.
It's funny you say that, because I can remember somebody saying to me, Agent, I can't remember who it was exactly, and they told me slow down to speed up, right?
Yeah.
So when you feel like you're pushing, actually sometimes what you're creating is resistance, which then slows you down, right? So I mean, don't even get me on the subject of time being a man-made construct. That's obviously another discussion entirely, but I think it's really interesting how all of your background has led you to where you are, as it does, right? It's all there for us. And so you have this process that you live by now, is that right? And you do this, you learned how to do it, you developed it, and you literally walk your talk all the time to manage your mental space, your emotional space, your energy, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I think the car is the most relaxed.
Right.
And I think it's because it had to be at one point. I you know, I had severe GI issues, and it was really hard to commute into work, you know, into the city, things like that. And so it's almost like the cat reflex when you hold them by the scruff of the neck, they relax. There
Yeah.
are these triggers that that help if you pay attention and sort of connect some dots to be reflexive. And to me, that's what it's all about, because who has time for another thing to put on their to-do list or to think about, etc. So it's all about getting to instinctive or reflexive, a new reflex.
Yeah.
But first, there's the challenge is to overcome the stress response reflex that a
Right.
lot of times has become just a habit of the mind, and also of the body when it comes to the cortisol and other things. We can get addicted to that. And so we have to overcome that. And also, when we try to generate the relaxing feeling with a long exhale, often what happens is we end up holding our breath at the end of that. So there's the conundrum inside the enigma, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, indeed.
The simple but not easy aspect. So
This
we
is the
try
thing,
to
isn't it?
sandwich to common situations and then use spare seconds during the day to run some cycles and just really enjoy it's about paying attention and enjoying and feeling good.
I love that you say that, because I sort of in what I teach, I tell my guys all the time, you know, find the, probably for want of a better description, but the dead space in the day, you know, like 2 minutes while you're waiting for the kettle to boil, 2 minutes while you've got conditioner on your hair, right? Fresh out the shower, you can see that mine's still drying, but you know, so all the
Looks
time
lovely.
you oh, thank you. When you can't do anything else, right? When you're like waiting for
Right.
dinner to cook, when you're whatever, those are periods in our day where we can just layer something else in, right? And it becomes like a reflex. I tell people, anchor it into something you do every day. So like, you don't get up in the morning and go, am I going to brush my teeth today? Don't think. We just do it, right? So
Right.
eventually it becomes like that, and it's like a skin routine for women. I went through a period of, you know, I shouldn't admit this, but I did, leaving my makeup on at night because I was too tired, couldn't be bothered.
Mhm.
And the difference when you start to go through that routine, it feels so much better that actually you don't want to not do it. And it's
Yeah.
the same with my tapping, right? I know when I don't do enough tapping because I'm tired, I'm grumpy, I'm craving, like all of these things because I'm
Right.
dysregulated, right?
Yeah. You know what I figured out was one of the reasons why I like routines is I don't like change.
Okay. Yeah.
So I like to lock into something. And like you said, don't have to think about that. You
Mm.
know, I can
Yeah.
be working on my other, you know, creative stuff,
Yeah.
and some of it's on autopilot. But there's, you know, that brings up the idea of when your mind wanders or your attention, you know, vanishes or a thought comes crashing in. Um, you know, how do you respond to that?
That's it. And I think it's in those little moments where stuff hits the fan, you know, that's the kind of key, because it's in those moments, they add up, don't they? We get so much coming at us all day, every day. You
Mhm.
know, the phone's going off, it's dinging, you've got the TV going off, you've got people calling you, people knocking on the door, whatever, your laptop and all the notifications everywhere. And unless you're a ninja at turning everything off, right, and literally just living in a vacuum, at some point you're going to get triggered. Excuse me. And because of the sort of what we call a micro re-traumatization, right? So
Yeah.
if you're already stressed and something else stressful happens, you can go up like a bottle of pop, right? And it's like,
Oh, yeah.
and then the anger kicks in, and then and then you get all the adrenaline, and it's we get addicted to that adrenaline hit, don't we?
Yes.
And it's really dangerous. And it's not to say that cortisol isn't useful. We need it. It gets us out of bed
Mhm.
in the morning, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But too much cortisol and too much adrenaline starts leaching DHEA from the bones, and it's really nasty, right? It's a toxic
Mhm.
cocktail. So I get why you're really passionate about this. So tell us about this challenge, because for anybody who's watching, Robert is offering a really cool. It was me, silly dog. Every time I move, literally, he's like on red alert.
Jumpy.
Yeah, I know. He's defending my honor, bless him. Um, yeah, so you're doing a challenge, aren't you? And I'm super excited about this because I really like the sound of it. It isn't something that I've done before. And I think it would be something that's really easy to slot into, layer into those moments in the day, obviously without giving too much away. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Absolutely. So we're going to just start with the breath because that's the place, that's the trigger. The breath is hardwired into your nervous system. So it's accessible. But like we said, the holding of the breath is a little bit of a challenge that we'll work around. So the way you do that is to tie the A, which is the awareness, particularly of the lower body, and tie those together. And basically, being aware of the soles of the feet and almost doing a body scan on the way down on the exhale as an overview of how this works. But we start standing up. Um, for me, I always had trouble sitting still. When I was a little kid, my knee was bouncing under the table, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Jiffy.
so I don't like to sit still. So I like to stand and do some sort of modified Tai Chi movements and experiment with how that feels,
Wow.
and using your legs to wake up your lower body, and a little bit of movement that allows you to have something to follow with your awareness, with your guided imagery.
I love that. So you guys, the challenge is called the Balm Boot Camp. Do you know, like Tiger Balm, BALM, and that's Robert's kind of little signature system, if you like. And it's a really lovely intro into what he does and how to do it, so that you can create. I'm guessing like a really short little routine that you could do every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got a little meditation track that you can use at home, and to deliberately slow your breath. So we're starting from, the basics, and
Very basics. Yeah.
yeah, and sharing how that feels. So the basics are um, the vehicle to sort of take us on a vacation, and we want to notice all the things along the way and share that out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I love the sound of it simply because it feels very, what's the word? Stripped back, in the sense that it isn't something that's widely known, and
Right.
it's unique. You've crafted this so beautifully, because obviously we've worked together a long time and we've been working on this, and so I've seen it from the back as well, back end as well, and it is fascinating, and the effort that you've put in, it's going to be a beautiful experience. And there are ways to dive deeper with Robert after that if you want to, and I highly recommend you do, if you have issues around stress, autoimmune, wellness, all sorts of things. So Robert, tell us what this can be really helpful for. Like, if people are struggling with,
Yeah.
what might this help them?
Well, obviously, sleep. I think sleep is the litmus test of how our body's processing
Yeah.
stress, because that's where it shows up.
Okay.
But tension in the neck and shoulders, um, uh, repetitive injury
Mhm.
that won't go away. Um, there are ways to create, I'll call it mind body space around those aches and injuries and pinch points.
Okay.
Um, Focus is a big challenge I hear about a lot of times, as you mentioned, with all the interruptions. And
Yeah.
it can be hard to postpone. We feel like we're pushing a deadline and we've got to sit there and just take it. And it's, and we're good at it. We were brought up this way,
Mm.
to really keep our nose to the grindstone and push things across. And to our credit,
Yeah.
um, but there's a way to feed our body at the same time and keep our feelings open and not stuff them down.
Right.
And but the part I find most interesting is beyond the health aspects
Yeah.
that we touched on before. There are hidden dangers of stress in terms of blocking what is called the felt sense or inner awareness.
Yeah.
That really is key to our being able to take initiative, having the courage to persevere, and expanding our intuition
Yeah.
and our creativity. So it's been studied in PTSD and other areas in leadership, and some areas I call social energy, because some of us that may be a little less extroverted and need that sort of time to recharge. That's a little different type of energy, and sort of related to optimism.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So in the Energy Accelerator Roadmap, we talk about the 10 drivers of all-day energy and a lot of other things, the heart activation and how to overcome limiting habits and beliefs and create new routines. But first, I love how the foundation is giving us what we need already and in the moment.
I love that because, well, for many, many, many reasons. And I've just put a link into your group, Superpowers Made Simple.
Oh,
If
thank
that
you.
hyperlink hasn't come up for everybody in the chat, you can just search for it in Facebook. If you want to join Robert's group in advance of this challenge, which starts next
Wednesday.
Sorry. There's a whole heap of good stuff in there already for you to watch, just bite-sized chunks, and kind of get acquainted with the background to this and why he's doing it and the aim of it and what you're going to get out of it and all of that good stuff. I've been in there for like a couple of weeks, like watching everything and glued to it. And I love this because the felt sense is really important to me as well, like in the work that I do, especially at the moment, because I'm working with energy codes and like the chakras and things like that. Your felt sense is incredibly important, right? Because if you're out of touch with your body, you can't get your yes or your no, right? So your decision making is down the pan. Your, like you say, your intuition is cut off at the wick because you don't get that kind of like, okay, how does that feel in my body? Because you're all up in here. And when you're all up in here, what are you doing? Potentially thinking about either things that have gone wrong in the past or things that might go wrong in the future, both of which keep you in a stress response.
Oh, you're tormented. Yeah. I mean,
like you can't go left, you can't go right, you can't go brake, you can't accelerate, you can't.
Well, you can for a while, but then you get hit out of left field, right?
Yeah.
It's not fair what your mind does to you that way, but
no, like who designed the human brain to be this? It's a bit rubbish, but I think it's really important to presence that, because so many people get, this whole thing of being, oh, well, I haven't got time. I'm really busy. Are you really busy? Or are you stuck in freeze mode? Because being stuck in freeze mode because of this constant push me, pull you effect of the stress response can look like busy work, stuck doing the wrong stuff, constantly on a cycle of making lists, being late, never getting stuff done, always been tired, blah, 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 being tetchy, not looking after yourself, right? Eating the wrong foods, staying up too late, not having a bedtime routine, not getting some movement in your day, all because you're too busy. I've been there, right? And it's a horrible place because you're like, well, how do I get out of this? Because you believe, because we rationalize things with the conscious mind, right? We rationalize that we are too busy to do this. And actually, everybody's got the same amount of hours in the day. But what it sounds like is you have a tool to give people, to actually give them more space because they're getting more present in their bodies, right? Is that a fair assessment?
I think that is a fair assessment. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that would be really powerful because in this day and age, there's so many reasons to be up in here, catastrophizing, overthinking, analyzing, all of that stuff that keeps our brain going so fast that we feel like we can't get off the Ferris wheel. Thank you, Dina. I'm glad you love it. I'm glad it's helpful. And I think that getting into the body is one of the first things I do with my clients, as I know you do, is like, let's just drop into the body. And like you say, the breath is the way in, right?
Yeah.
Follow that breath. So it's not anything complicated per se that people are going to have to learn. It's more like coming back to remembering what they already know. Does that make sense?
It is, but I feel like I want to share that there are levels of it that are non-obvious,
Yeah.
because again, it's simple but not easy. And
Right.
I'm not saying you can do these kind of things out of the chute, but
Yeah.
what I experience is, okay, I'm getting ready for a procedure or whatever, and I'm going to focus on feeling my feet on the ground. So maybe I get this. I think, okay, bare feet on bare ground, no grass or whatever. I think. Next thing I know, I'm focusing. I'm knee deep in mud. My imagination has taken that intention and given me, like a burst of acceleration.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, I'm in touch with like granite rock, and I'm in sand, and all these things come up. So there's body wisdom that's untapped. And I know that your audience is probably pretty open-minded, but there are naysayers and people who say, well, you're just pretending. And I think that's absolutely correct. I think you do have to pretend a lot of times in the beginning, but it's really no different. I do brain training online, and some of the peripheral vision exercises, I'm absolutely guessing. I don't know if it was here or there, or whether it was the little car or the big bus. I
Right.
just know that something, activated aspects of my cerebral cortex and my visual input that was below the limit of perception. And I think that's all it is these dormant or injured mechanisms.
Right.
We've kind of left them stranded. So we've got to reach out and rekindle a dialogue and maybe play along a little bit, maybe pretend until those synapses get reconnected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, because like, it's like I say to clients of mine, if they're, if we go into a visualization and they say, well, I struggle to visualize. Okay, so close your eyes and imagine your front door. Can you see it? You can visualize. It's not any more complex than that, right? I think we get bamboozled with manifestation is sat in a lotus position, chanting for an hour. And if you don't do it for an hour or 10 hours and it's, blah, blah, then you're not spiritual enough. Come on, guys. Like, spiritual is coming back to the truth of who you are, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you are a child of the universe and we're all connected and it's all energy. To me, that's all it is. And I think this re-remembering of this ancient inbuilt wisdom that we have but don't know on a conscious level, I think that's so powerful. Because when you come back to yourself, like, you completely take back sovereignty over your entire life, don't you? Bit by bit by bit, you learn more confidence and more what's the word, like, to make better decisions and to know, like we said, like, what's right for you and what's not right for you. And it all starts with these seemingly simple but actually deceptively deep things that you're going to teach us, right?
Yeah, that's it.
I am so excited. Can you tell? Charlie's saying this is really interesting because she's going tomorrow to have some sort of an injection into a hip joint. Oh, honey, my mum had those for years for rheumatoid arthritis. I feel you. So this will be really helpful. Yeah, for sure. Vicky says always learning, and Dina is working on shifting all the things that we've mentioned. So this is going to be really useful, I think, for you guys to get into Robert's group. If you want to do that, as I say, there's a ton of stuff already in there. Some really great videos where Robert's out and about on beaches. So it's really nice to look at anyway, but really useful stuff, really good context. And when we start next Wednesday, it's going to be, so what can people expect if they join this challenge? Is it going to be like an hour a day, or what do they need to do?
No, I think about a half an hour. We're going to start at 11 a.m. And I've been working on my talking portion to trim it down. So we're gonna get up and do some we're going to get up and do some breath and movement. Philip's going to help out. He's got a counting audio that he's developed to, send
Nice.
folks home with. And but we're going to have some new insights, because I think that those are helpful. So it's going to be mostly experiential,
Nice.
different ways of feeling the sort of center of your energy relative to where your breath is. And as simple as that sounds, there are some exquisite combinations that can be used to really drive deep calm and better sleep and focus and present moment.
Relax, just
Much in the
listening
present moment.
about it. That's the thing, like being in the present moment, and then like everything just feels easier, doesn't it? When you're sleeping better, when you're calmer, when everything is, and your brain is slower, you can just deal with things more easily, can't you?
It's
That's
such a relief too, because, especially people who are dealing with health challenges like I had to, and like you may have had to, on top of all the other things, and maybe needing to integrate. Maybe you've got, a traditional doctor that's providing certain things, but then you've sought out this and that specialist. Could be, all sorts of modalities out there, and there can be a bit of mental traffic of how am I going to integrate this all together, and how am I going to find the right answers. And it's almost like you said, getting ready to leave to go to the office or whatever. What all do I have to bring with me? But once you really develop the anchor inside, that is just such a relief and a blessing that just feels good.
I could imagine that would give a real sense of safety if you always have an anchor inside of you that you can go to like that whenever life is getting tough, even if it's like a 2 out of 10 tough, right? That's a place of safety, isn't it? And self-reassurance and self-reliance that not many other things would give you, I wouldn't imagine.
It just balances the mental traffic. And I guess that varies by people. Mine got overactivated. I was sort of intuitive as a kid. And then like I said, went to engineering school and business school and, got busy, but I was always busy, I was kind of like had the kayak on top and the bicycle in the back and the guitar in the front, and was ready for whatever was coming.
You sound like a wandering minstrel. I love it.
I still kind of am, yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay, so for anybody wondering, okay, like how are they going to feel? What is your intention for them after, at the end of this challenge? How are they going to be different?
It's amazing already in the group how, the gratitude energy is really shaping things, and the group is kind of coming together. And I mean, I was raised really conservatively. So for me to bring out this kind of thing is, on the one hand, a bit unusual, but it's really relates back to thousands of years ago, But what happened, it was siloed. Certainly the marksmen of, thousands of years ago knew to pull the trigger on the exhale. That's common knowledge. But they were already grounded, running around barefoot and walking, tons of miles a day. So they didn't have to really worry about that piece, but we do. So hooking the awareness straight away after the breath, and then introducing the letting go portion is like the last mile, but it's important to have that intention and follow that through.
I love it. So does anybody have any questions? Stick your questions in the comments. And have you got any, like, if anybody wants to get in touch with you or ask you any questions, what's the best way? Is it for them to just request access to the group, or
if they're comfortable, that's great. Yeah, Superpowers Made Simple on Facebook, or send me a friend request, or you can email me at robert@superpowersmadesimple.com.
Put that in the chat. Superpowers Made simple.com. I'm hoping that goes through okay. Cool. All right, cool. So yeah, any last words that you want to leave us with? Any thoughts?
I just want to say thanks again. I've always enjoyed working with you. The moment I met you, I knew I wanted to work with you, and I think our chemistry is great. And I appreciate the introduction. Hi, everybody. And yeah, just got spring. Spring is here. It's a wonderful time for new beginnings, and
Totally.
roots are growing. The leaves are popping out. So
yeah, it's a beautiful time to unfurl ourselves, right? I look all around and I see the buds on the trees and everything is just like new and fresh, and it has that real feeling of fresh energy, doesn't it? So that's what I'm looking forward to next week. So yeah, thank you for being with us. Thank you for talking so openly about everything. And I'm really excited. I'm going to keep sharing this video, and obviously it's gone into my Personal Freedom Lounge free Facebook group. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'll pop back, or Robert, if I think you're in the group, you can pop back and answer them if they tag you. And I look forward to doing this challenge with you guys next week. I'm super psyched. And it's 11 a.m. CST, is that right? Or EST?
Eastern,
11 a.m. Eastern. So 4 p.m. UK?
Correct. 5 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 p.m. UK. Julie says, thank you. This was interesting. I could certainly benefit from this, balancing the mental traffic. Yeah, it doesn't it, Julie? And what you'll find working with Robert is he is so calm, and I don't know how else to say it. It's like he's kind of otherworldly in the sense that when you work with him, you just kind of drop it. It's very relaxing and it's very grounding and reassuring. So you're gonna love it. I can't wait.
I guess I was being raised in the South. I'm not really sure.
So. Maybe so. Cool. All right. Well, we'll leave it there then, I guess. And I'll look forward to seeing anybody who wants to come and join us next week, starting Wednesday, 4 p.m. UK, 11 a.m. Eastern. Get into Superpowers Made Simple free group, or ask any questions below in this thread, and we'll get you some answers. Okay. Thanks for joining us, Robert. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.